By a show of fingers, who thinks the US economy right now is in lousy shape? Who would describe the US economy right now as being in lousy shape? 5 of you do. Bettina, in what ways is it in lousy shape?
To me, everything just keeps going up but salaries. You can get a 3% raise, but eggs have gone more than 5% up. They're like at 50% of what I used to pay. So where does that difference come in at?
Got it. Thank you. Other examples of how the economy is in lousy shape, different from what Bettina said.
People are struggling like crazy to find jobs, and unemployment is like running out for them. Like they're maxing their limit on how much unemployment they can get. So they're suffering because they don't have unemployment or a job. So they have no income. And it's a lot of people I know, not just a few.
Got it. Who do you blame for the economy being in lousy shape? Whose fault is it? Mark?
It's Biden's fault. He's the one that's, if you want to blame somebody, he's been there over 3 years. And if it keeps going downhill, then it's clearly on his shoulders.
Okay. Kevin?
I would just like to add to that when it comes to Biden, he's been a extremely powerful federal politician my entire life. I'm 44 years old. There is no single person in America who is more responsible for where we are in everything than Joe Biden.
Okay. Got it. Other than Biden, does anybody blame anything or any other person or any other force that's caused the economy to be in lousy shape? Sabrina?
Well, yeah, I don't think Biden's done a great job, but I feel like there's so many more people at play that have failed America in general. I mean, I just feel it doesn't seem right to just blame it like on one person. I feel like people have been messing up all throughout the system.
Okay, like who? Give me an example.
Oh, I don't know people in particularly.
And I'm looking for a specific person or people.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, Biden, he hasn't done great, but.
Okay. Got it. So by a show of fingers, who would say that over the past few months, your income has not kept up with your expenses? Let's say the last few months, your income has not kept up with your expenses. 2 of you. By a show of fingers, who feels like they don't know what's in Vice President Harris's economic plan? Feels like they do not know what's in Harris's economic plan. 4 of you. By a show of fingers, who'd be curious to learn what's in Vice President Harris's economic plan? Who'd be curious to see it? 4 of you. Okay. So imagine that when you're watching TV or surfing the web, a Harris ad comes on and it invites you to scan a QR code in the bottom corner to download her economic plan, which includes a summary of the plan. By a show of fingers, who would actually do that? Two of you would. Okay. Sabrina, why would you do that?
Okay, well, I feel like I'm missing something now. It's just an ad that comes up with the QR code and you do it and it brings up her policies and stuff.
Yeah, just like when you're in a restaurant, you use the QR code to get the menu.
Oh,
You pulled up
because
the.
I'd love to be informed.
You want to be informed.
Yeah.
Okay. Tara, why would you do it?
Like Sabrina, I would like to be informed, and if there's something that I missed from not, looking at ads or, her rallies and things like that, I would want to be more informed, and then I would want to know exactly what she's wanting to do on paper. So that's the reason I would scan it.
Okay. By a show of fingers, Who feels like they don't know what's in former President Trump's economic plan? One of you, Bettina. And by a show of fingers, who'd be curious to learn what's in his economic plan? Again, same one. So again, imagine you're watching TV, surfing the web, a Trump ad comes on, and it invites you to scan a QR code in the bottom corner to download his economic plan, which includes a summary of the plan. By a show of fingers, who would actually do that? Same two of you. So Tara and Sabrina, you do it for the same reason as with the Harris plan or for a different reason?
Same reason.
Same reason.
Okay. So former President Trump is proposing a 20% tariff on all imported goods, which he believes will put a ring of protection around our country, allowing more manufacturing to take place at home. He also wants to impose a 60% tariff on goods made in China. By a show of fingers, who supports this plan? Two of you. So four of you don't support that plan. Kevin, why don't you support it?
I don't think it's particularly wise, but also I don't think it's going to really go anywhere.
You don't think the proposal is going to go anywhere?
No,
Okay, why not?
I think it'll cost too much money. It'll be too difficult politically, both to implement and too much of a cost politically,
Okay. And why would it impose a cost politically?
because it's a bad idea.
Okay. Mark, you plan to vote for Trump. Why wouldn't you support this plan?
Well, he wants to implement this plan in order to create new jobs and have more things being purchased locally, in our nation, as opposed to outsourced things. The only downside to that is that people here are greedy. The manufacturers are greedy. The companies here are greedy. And what will end up happening is it's just going to end up costing us more money for goods that we should be able to spend less money on. Yeah, I understand you're going to create more jobs, but you want to make the American car companies or the American manufacturing companies more competitive, force them to be more competitive by allowing some of this stuff in, so that they have to produce a better product that's a little cheaper, as opposed to continuing to raise prices all the time.
Got it. Tara, had you heard about this 20% tariff before?
I have not heard about them.
Now that you heard about it, what do you think of it?
I would say, like some of the others have said, to me, it will be a little bit more costly. And it's like, who are you creating more jobs for? And then, of course, the extra tax or the money that's going to cost to do that. I think it's important to create more jobs here versus there, because I did hear you mention something about China, things where most of our stuff comes from anyway. But I would just say it will be a little bit more costly to me. Like, it's not a good decision.
Got it. Thank you. So Trump says he would also offset the higher prices that would come from doing this by lowering federal income taxes. Does that change anybody's view of this idea? Those of you who are critical of it? So basically, it would cost you more when you buy stuff, but he would cut federal taxes to counterbalance it. Does anybody think that's a good solution? For the four of you who are critical, that's not a good solution. By a show of fingers, is anyone who is considering voting for Trump less supportive of him now, knowing that he wants to impose these tariffs? Does that cause anybody to think, I'm a little bit less supportive of him? That shifted you, Mark? Ashley? No? Kevin? No? Okay. One other thing on this. So Vice President Harris calls Trump's tariff plan the Trump tax. By a show of fingers, who's heard that phrase before? The Trump tax. 2 of you. Sabrina, you definitely heard it?
Well, I feel like I have, but it sounds like it, but I tried to tune out some of the political ads now, so I'm not even sure.
Got it. Okay. All right. I'm going to change topics a little bit. By a show of fingers, who thinks the US economy right now is in lousy shape? Who describe the US economy right now as being in lousy shape? 5 of you would. Okay. Charmin, in what ways is it in lousy shape?
To me, it seems like I'm spending way too much money on groceries. And I know a lot of people that are struggling to keep their housing. And that's the major things that I know.
Who has a different explanation for how it's in lousy shape, or different perspective or observation on how it's in lousy shape, other than the price of groceries? Zaire?
I think that one of the things that is also in lousy shape is the state of legalized cannabis.
Okay.
The
I'm not asking about other things that are in lousy shape. I'm asking about, I'm sorry if I misstated my question. What other evidence do you all have that the economy is in lousy shape other than that groceries are too high? That's what I intended to be my question.
got you. So is it just the groceries? Like, because everything is high.
Okay. Got it. Is there any other indicators out there that the economy is in lousy shape other than the high price of groceries or high price of items, consumer items? So that's basically it.
Well, services are higher as well.
Okay. But other than the price of things that you buy, is there any other evidence that the economy is in lousy shape?
Yes, people are depressed and they are sad and angry.
Okay. Got it. Who do you guys blame for the economy being in lousy shape?
Current administration.
The administration? Okay. Other than the administration, is there any other person or group or entity or outside force that you blame for the economy being in lousy shape?
So recovery from COVID is happening worldwide, and the economy thing is happening worldwide.
Okay. By a show of fingers, who would say that over the past few months, your income has not kept pace with your expenses? Last few months are 4 of you. Okay. And by a show of fingers, who feels like they don't know what's in Vice President Harris's economic plan? Feels like they don't know what's in her plan. 5 of you. Okay. And by a show of fingers, who'd be curious to learn what's in her plan? Show of fingers. 5 of you. So I want you all to imagine you're watching TV or surfing the web, and a Harris ad comes on, and it invites you to scan a QR code in the bottom corner to download her economic plan, which includes a summary of the plan. By a show of fingers, who would actually do that? Hold up your phone to the TV or to the computer and actually download the plan. 3 of you would do that. Okay. Charmin, why would you do that?
Well, I already saw some of the information that was in the plan. And so this close to the election and making my decision, I would want to make sure I didn't miss anything and just verify the information I already have to make sure that it matches up with what I think. And yeah, I'm trying to get to the bottom of what I'm going to do. So I would definitely scan that just to make sure one last time that it says what I think it says.
Zaire, why would you do that?
To know, because I want to know. Also, in the event that she does, win, I would like to know what are we in store for her.
Okay. Malachi, why would you do it?
Convenient, open, public transparency to all.
By a show of fingers, who feels like they don't know what's in former President Trump's economic plan? 4 of you. By a show of fingers, who'd be curious to learn what's in his plan? 3 of you. Imagine that you're watching TV and one of his ads comes on with a QR code in the bottom corner, which includes a summary, links to the plan, and has a summary of the plan. By a show of fingers, who would actually do that? Use the QR code to download the plan. Same 3 of you. Would you do that for the same reason you would do it for Harris's?
Yes.
So, former President Trump is proposing a 20% tariff on all imported goods, which he believes will put a ring of protection around our country, allowing more manufacturing to take place at home. He also wants to impose a 60% tariff on goods made in China. By a show of fingers, who supports this plan? 2 of you. Okay. The 4 of you don't. Malachi, why don't you support the plan? The tariff plan.
I think it needs to be some other investigation to support it itself, because if you just want to throw taxation on somebody because you feel some type of way, or you trying to regain something, or you trying to make a power move or shift, it should be more grounded to where it ain't just for your term and it doesn't affect somebody else later on in life.
Okay. Charmin, why don't you support it?
I would be worried that the tariffs will force these companies to raise their prices and it falls back on the consumers, because I do know that a lot of our goods come from China. And so I would just be worried, like, how would that play out on the back end for consumers?
Okay. So help me with this. You were starting off leaning toward Harris. You're now leaning toward Trump. Now that I told you about this 20% tariff, does that shift you back at all?
No, it doesn't, because I think that she also has some economic plans that I would be worried about as well. So they're kind of even with me with that.
Okay. Which of her plans are you worried about?
Like, I think she was trying to, like Gunnar said, the uncapitalized gains, taxation on that, and like the bigger corporations, which I still feel like some of that's gonna fall back on the consumers.
Okay. Zaire, why is it not a good idea for her to for Trump to impose a 20% tariff on imported goods?
I'm not gonna say it's not a good idea. It just makes me a little bit nervous, you know. We don't do a lot of manufacturing here. I guess I would feel a little bit better if there was a plan to support the manufacturing here before we just automatically start, cutting off and putting a tax on what we're getting, because we need, most of those things.
Okay. So Trump says that he would offset the higher prices that would come from imposing a tariff by lowering federal income taxes. Does that change anybody's opinion for those of you who are opposed to the tariff? Show of fingers.
Yes.
Who says it changes their opinion? 1 of you. Okay. All right. So one other thing. So Harris calls his tariffs the Trump tax. Who has heard that phrase, the Trump tax? 5 of you have. Great. And it's in the context of the tariff? When she calls it the Trump tax, How many of you know that she's referring to the tariff plan when she talks about that? 3 of you do. Okay. Switching gears. How many of you heard the news about former President Trump talking about Arnold Palmer, the golfer? Any of you heard what Trump said about Arnold Palmer in the last few days? None of you have heard that. Okay.